What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. We are here live once again, but we are chatting not only about BB27, how the season was. We're 2 weeks out as of the recording of this stream, if you're watching this back at a later time. And we're going to go over not only the season, but also the past 5 winners. The winners of what I would call the new era of Big Brother. From BB23 on, we have these 5 great winners. Honestly, all 5 of them are wonderful in their own right. But where do they rank? Who is the best? Who is the worst? We're going to talk about that. Ashley, our newest winner, where does she stand among these other winners? We're going to talk about that. But what's up, everybody in chat? How you guys all doing? Because this is the thing. This is the conversation that we want to have here. I want to know what you guys are thinking as well as we go over everybody. I have some, like, listen, they're like Ori stats, right? They're like, it's an Ori rating system, and we're going to go over everything, but I'm excited to hang out with you guys. It's our first Friday morning live stream post-season. These are going to kind of continue, we'll see how everything goes. We'll see how everything goes. But how's everybody doing? I see you guys all. We got Brandy Boo, PT. We got Gigi. What's up, Gigi girls? How you doing? Stanley. We got Patty. Norma. What's up, Norma? PG. Michelle, PT. Roberta. Who else do we got up in here? Therese, how are you? Did I miss anybody? I'm probably missing people, but how are you guys? Juan, I see you over there. I see you. How you guys doing? Jennifer, how are you? Good morning, guys. Listen, you guys got your coffee? I got my Wawa coffee. Listen, it wasn't free today. We're not even going to talk about. We're not even going to talk about the week that was really the past like 2 weeks of Philly sports. It's a mess. We're not going to mention it. We're just going to move on. It's Big Brother. We've got to focus for this. Also, let me know how everything is, how the mic sound, and how is all the audio. I was messing with stuff. It sounded like it was peaking a little bit earlier, so let me know if everything is sounding good. Don't miss anyone, or yeah, by the way, guys, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, if you're liking this stream, smash that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. We do daily live feed updates on Big Brother all season long, first thing in the morning. It's always a lot of fun during the season, but now we're post-season. We're moving on afterwards. And one of the things we want to do here is some Friday morning streams where we'll talk about just, honestly, it's not always going to be about Big Brother stuff. We'll see how we can do with some other topics. There's things I want to go over, like the Traitors. There's a couple of seasons of the Traitors that we're going to need to watch. We're going to need to talk about. I am super interested in. We've got the Traitors Ireland, which wrapped up. I haven't seen any of it. This literally just started. I think it was Wednesday. I didn't even realize that it started this soon. Traitors UK Celebrity Edition. Now, here's the thing. I know that most of you probably won't be familiar with a lot of the celebrities that are on the show, but I don't think that's going to matter, right? Like, I think it's just going to be kind of fun. Think about it. When you watch the Traitors US, right, half of those celebrities, like, I don't know half the housewives, right? I didn't know. Who was the guy, Peter? The guy on Traitors US, he ended up being on Destination X as well. I think his name might have been Peter. He was either from like The Bachelor or like some random reality show like that. I think he was a pilot or something like that. He ended up being like this really good player that I just never knew about. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. He's kind of smart. He thinks outside of the box. He knows how to play the game. So I don't think you necessarily need to know the players really going into the Traitors. And I think it's going to be just kind of as fun. And a few of them I actually do know. There's a few of them that I kind of know. Is it Pilot Pete? Am I thinking of the right guy? Does this sound about right? But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on. Also, listen, we got Survivor going on. Was he from The Bachelor? Okay, he was from The Bachelor. We've got Survivor going on. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of US Survivor recently. There's also The Amazing Race, BB. I'll be honest, I haven't watched. Listen, I tried to watch the first episode. I tried to watch, and I fell asleep. I halfway through the episode, I fell asleep, and I don't know. I really wanted to give it a shot. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to like binge them now all together. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. But it was kind of rough. What else is going on in the reality TV show world? There's The Challenge. Honestly, actually, that's one that I kind of was watching a little bit, and I was actually this ain't bad. It's like New Threats versus the Vets, and it's not too bad either. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Peter Christian Weber Jr. Weber placed third on season 15 of The Bachelorette, and was later cast as the star of season 24 of The Bachelor. Outside of his work on television, Weber works as a pilot. So yes, that is the guy I was thinking of. Didn't know him, right? Like, I don't watch The Bachelor, but when he was on The Traitors, I was like, oh, I'm actually a little bit impressed with this guy. Like, he's not just like thinking very straightforward, right? There were moments where he literally was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me really try and analyze the situation here. And he was thinking critically. And I like that about him. And then he was really good on Destination X too. I didn't love how the endgame of that all played out. There were some things I didn't love about that game. But he was good on that too, I thought. Because what was it? There was like a moment where he got the opportunity to make like a big decision in the game on who was going to be leaving. And he went with the less obvious but better choice on who to eliminate in that round. And it was like, at first you were like, oh, I get it though, right? Because it was actually a smart move because they were really dangerous in the game, so you had to kind of get rid of them. It really made sense, even though it was like you would think he would have went another way with it. And I was like, I like how he thinks about it. So you get those like little surprise people, right, randomly, that are just like, oh yeah, this person's actually pretty good, you know. Let's see. Taylor only won because of her story. Chelsie, Xavier played a great game. Jag is kind of hard for me. But honestly, Never in Danger could see him winning without the cook. Oh, Xavier's success kind of happened to Tim, though. I think the cookout doesn't happen if it's Tiffany's game. There's a lot of interesting points that we can go over. There's a lot of really interesting points we can go over about all 5 of these winners. Because here's the thing. I think all of them in their own right have really good qualities. But I think there is somewhat of a definitive list we can come up with and a ranking of these 5 winners. I've got kind of a little bit of like a scoring system even. I went a little deep with it. But the numbers are fluid. Listen, the numbers are fluid. So as we kind of go over this, I might even change my mind mid-conversation about this on what the numbers and final ranking should be. But I think it's going to be interesting. Lisa, good morning. How are you? Before the finale, I kept thinking how much Morgan was like Vanessa Russo, and I felt the same thing would happen, and it really did. Honestly, there's so many parallels with Morgan and Vanessa. It really is kind of funny. Really, Vanessa basically had 2 children, right? Like, I feel like Vince and Morgan were like Vanessa's like twins. she had a boy and a girl. That's why they were hugging all the time. It was a sibling relationship, guys. Maybe that makes it weirder. Oh wait, maybe that because Vince had the hats, right? Like, that's straight Vanessa. He had the crying. Like, listen, we're gonna be honest here. Vanessa, she would put on the waterworks a little bit, right? And that's one thing I do want to say. It feels like Vince gets a little bit more heat for the crying thing. When, like, listen, I think a lot of it was legitimate strategy where he was like using that to get emotional advantage with the people he was talking to. And a lot of times it would work. It worked great with Keanu. Keanu like really thought like this was his little bro that he was like looking after, even though he's older than him. But like, this was like, he's got to take care of this guy, right? So like that kind of stuff, it worked. Vanessa kind of did a little bit of that too, right? Where she would have like these kind of like mopey, teary-eyed things. Like that was kind of a meme for Vanessa, but you know, Vanessa didn't get as much heat about it, right? Like it wasn't like defining on Vanessa's game necessarily, but there were people that would definitely bring it up. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting little dynamics with those two as well. But then Morgan, getting cut the way Vanessa did as well at the end, kind of just I don't know. Funny how that all worked out. Could you imagine the three of them on a season? Whew. Oh dear, can we rank them all? At number 5. Not gonna lie, Ori, I watched oh no, PT, can we not? Watched it last night with Schadenfreude, and yeah. Enjoying my suffering. Yeah. Hey, my Chiefs are 2-3, so I have no leg to stand on. It was rough. Oh, it was rough. Phillies. Oh, I'm an emotional wreck. See, and that's the thing too, Brandy, right? He claimed they weren't gameplay. I don't know how much I buy that. I think that's a little bit of him doing some revisionist history and like doesn't want to admit it. Right? Like I don't think he wants to admit it, but it was. I feel like he feels like if he admits it, he's a bad guy or something like that, which shouldn't be the case. Sorry I'm late, friends. No worries, Brianna. We haven't even really gotten to the meat of the stuff. We were just kind of getting in chatting here just for a second before we jump into it. Because we're gonna go and we're gonna rank all 5 of the new era of Big Brother. He could have won if he admitted it. I'm also I don't know how the mic's sounding. But like on my end, it looks like it's peaking a couple of times. So I'm just going to turn it down. If I end up being like too low or something like that, just let me know. And I can fix it. But I don't want like the mics to be too boomy. I've had some issues with my audio recently. I was trying to fix it even before the stream. So we'll see how it goes. Mic sounds fine. All right. The Broncos started the Eagles takedown. Yeah. It's been rough. It's been a rough 2 weeks for the Birds. They gotta really step it up and fix things. Don't change the mic. Is it worse now? After the changes, is it worse now? How are we sounding now? I honestly can't consider Ashley a winner. You can hate Vince's game, but he nominated half the house and had 4 HOHs. I don't like Jag's game. Essentially had the control almost entirely by Matt to work out. Basically won because of Cam was so influential on the jury and Matt choking at the end. Interesting. Sounds good. Ashley was smarter. Ooh, what did Norma say? 34-year-old lining at home, living at home with mom and no job. He has issues committing to work. And that's the thing too, like I think one of the things I started to realize about Vince is he's somebody who I think has had a little bit of a rough time for a while now. I think he's someone who's had some issues that he needs to work out, and that's why he's in the situation he is. And I don't think he's been able to really get his feet under him because he's got these like other underlining issues he's got to work out before he can actually get to a better place. And I think that's also part of why some of the whiny stuff came out even more, right? Almost this like victim stuff and this like mentality of like, oh, everything I do goes wrong. I think some of that actually, maybe I do believe him a little bit on that, where maybe that wasn't actually gameplay. That was just him actually feeling that bad about how he was doing. We saw his crash out in part 2 after he lost, right? I think he's got some stuff he's got to work out for sure. And I do worry about him, right? Because I worry about all the house guests after they leave and how they're dealing with things, how they're working stuff out, and it can be rough because you've got all of these people with all of their opinions on how you played and how you're doing and how you were. For the most part, I try and keep my commentary mainly to game, right? Like I don't want to draw any conclusions on who they are as people on how they played. a game for $750,000 locked in a house with no contact to the outside world, right? Like, I don't want to cast judgment on people in that kind of an environment. But I will cast judgment on their games. it always will come down to their games. Or do you have BB withdrawals? I wouldn't say I have BB withdrawals. Like, here's my thing. Like, I know there's a lot of drama going on. Like, I've seen some of it postseason. Different people having different comments and people maybe taking shots here and there. I for the most part stay out of like the postseason stuff. Like, once the season's done, the season's done. Like, you know, we can evaluate like games and stuff like that still. But any like the postseason drama, I usually don't pay too much attention to. But you know what I do had, or what I did have, was just kind of exhaustion after the season, right? There's that like just like going for so many days in a row every single morning, just going over everything that happened with the feeds. There was kind of like that wall you hit, and I was kind of lucky this year. I didn't really hit it during the season. Like, there's times where like, man, that like second to last week where that wall hits, so you're just like, oh, how do we get through this last chunk of the season? But for the most part, through the season, all felt pretty good. It was after the season that, like, finally it was just like, oh, all right, now we can relax. Let's recover. Let's recover. Or he was just self-pity. He needed to stop whining and start living his life. Did you see the video of the sun? I did actually see that. Listen, I don't know what paparazzi is keeping tabs on the runner-up of Big Brother. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. It sounds a little bit more like a self-report, but you know, we'll see. Or I'm gonna pass judgment on you, Norma. Now, I feel like X and Chelsie earned their wins. What's up, hyperfixation? Laura, what's up, Laura? Jury interviews affect the vote. David, we're gonna get into that. All the questions from the media were didn't Vince suck? We're gonna get into that a little bit. Sam, morning, great to see you pop up. Depressing day in Philly. Yeah, it's a rough one. It's not been a great time for Philly sports. Chelsie definitely put in more active work than Ashley. At least the season didn't last till November. True, PT. Vince had the absolute worst jury management of all time. You can't say that was because of his jury interviews. That's the thing, right, Sean? Like, you can't really say that Vince did a great job with the jury management. At the same time, jury interviews 100% can have an effect on the outcome, and I do think it's an issue. And I don't know 100% how you solve it other than not doing the jury interviews the way they're done. I think maybe they need to change up some of that. I don't know, but I think it would take a miracle for them to change how that's done. I don't understand why people think Ashley didn't deserve her win. She played a great game. I think there's some conversations to have here about where she kind of ranks and how things kind of will go here. But what do you say? What do you say, we guys we get into this? Because I don't want to go too long on this. Let's start things off. Let's just kind of talk about them a little bit, right? Let's just kind of start off with Xavier, right? Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown, a couple of things to say about Xavier, right? Hey, the guy played, I don't want to say a flawless game, right? Because he had some issues where he didn't really have as big of a target as he probably should have. Because here's the thing with Xavier. How many people, if you're really honest with yourself, you go back and you go, oh yeah, so many of us were like, yeah, Xavier's going to win this game. He just feels like the perfect type of person that would win Big Brother. And that should be a target, right? He should instantly, you look at this guy and go, oh, we should get rid of him. But it never really happened that much, right? Even the times where he would find himself, in a position where he was in a little bit of danger, he had a great alliance behind him, right? We have the Cookout, one of the best alliances that we've kind of seen run a season in a very long time, and he had that all behind him. But one of the other things was he was really good at competitions, right? Like, here's the thing. The new era of Big Brother is very competition heavy. And I don't even necessarily think it's just the new era of Big Brother. I think it's just a thing that people are realizing more and more. It's like, oh yeah, at the end of the day, you want to win the competitions at the end of the game, no matter what the type of competitions are. If you win more competitions at the end of the season, you're going to have a more likely chance of winning the game. It's just how things work out, right? Like, that is, if you have control, they can't vote you out and you're voting other people out. And it's one of those things that I've said for the longest time, that I believe the beginning half of Big Brother is all social, strategic gameplay, where you're trying to build bonds with people that you can later leverage use in the game. The second half of Big Brother, it is all about the competitions. You want to win the right competitions at the right time. The more competitions you win, the more control you will have in the game, and you will be able to move forward. And Xavier is somebody who's really good at competitions. He's somebody who's going to be good at a lot of different types of competitions as well. He's not just, a dumb jock. He's somebody that has a little bit of brains behind him. So I think he's a really well-rounded winner overall. And I think he's somebody that definitely has to be in consideration as one of the best of the new era, because I think he played a really, really good game. Taylor, listen, what can we say about Taylor? She won. She was America's favorite player. Listen, we got to be honest. She didn't have a great social game. She had a okay comp game, right? She wasn't terrible at comps. Like, she had her wins here and there. But I wouldn't say necessarily someone who was like fantastic at all competitions. And here's the big thing. We'll get into this a little bit later too, maybe. But actually, why even later? Let's just get into it now. The jury situation, right? We were just talking about, I forget who it was. Somebody said how, potentially the jury questions were slanted against Vince this season. Well, during Taylor's season, the media interviews, the jury exit interviews, oh man, did they skew things in this situation. And if you go back and you watch each and every evicted house guest as they were talking to Julie on stage, oh, who do you want to see win this game? Not one, not a soul said they wanted to see Taylor win that game. Not a single one of them. But as soon as they started doing their exit interviews, what do you guys think of the way that Taylor was treated during the season? Do you think it was fair for somebody to be bullied that way? What do you think of your involvement with that? Do you think you were any part of the way she was treated so poorly in this game? And as they would go and talk to each and every one, you could almost line them up, because their views would originally start was like, oh, well, I don't think Taylor, had a hard time. And then like the next interview was like, oh, they're asking about it again. Like, I mean, like, Taylor's all right. And then like the next interview was like, I love Taylor. Listen, let me tell you, I absolutely love her. She's just the sweetest. And, there were some people in there that were really giving her a rough time, but and they changed their tune so quick, real fast, like real fast. And we have to be honest that was a very big part of how the whole jury ended up being in her favor more than they probably should have been. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's one of the best overarching stories that we've ever had in Big Brother, from being in this just like terrible position week one to then kind of being a little bit scrappy there, kind of surviving the next few weeks. People, kind of keeping you around, to all of a sudden being, oh, wait a minute, we can actually use her. And then the leftovers kind of forming all kind of around her and kind of to protect her, but really just kind of go against that other side of the house, which a lot of them didn't trust. And just the whole story of how it went to then winning in the end. It's a great overarching story. As far as how strong of a win it is, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to get into the scoring system there, and it might not be great. Jag, another one who I think a lot of people have very strong opinions on, one way or another on Jag. Here's the thing. He gets a lot of flack as being like the first winner to be evicted, right? Here's my take on all that. Was he truly evicted though? Was he actually truly evicted? If you go back and you watch that week and you look at all the stuff that was happening on the feeds and everything, not even just what the episodes were showing, the way that all happened, right? Jag and Blue were up on the block, but Matt had the power to save Jag or Blue. Here's where things get tricky though. Matt went and told about his power to Cirie. Therefore, Cirie had all the knowledge on who she should vote out because it didn't matter because they were going to be coming back into the game if she played it right. In fact, she could have even lied to Matt. She could have said like, oh, Matt, we're going to vote to evict Blue, so you should use your power on Blue. But she didn't choose to do that. In fact, she chose to evict Jag and save Jag, in the whole idea being she then gains Jag and Matt as an ally because she's the one who set this all up and made sure this move worked, right? Because originally, if the power was not involved, guess what? It wasn't going to be Jag. It was going to be Blue because Cirie didn't like that Jared and Blue were so connected. She thought this was terrible for her game and his game, and she wanted to separate that. So she wanted to get Blue out. But then the whole thing showed up with Matt having this power, and she was like, "Oh man!" So I now have to figure something out here because if I vote out Blue, and I don't tell Matt that we're voting out Blue, and he doesn't use his power correctly, Matt and Jag are going to be mad. So I can't vote out Blue. But if I then vote out Blue and tell Matt to use his power, well, guess what? Now Jared's going to be mad that we tried to vote out Blue, but then she's back in, and Blue's going to be mad that we kind of did all that. So that's not going to work out great. So it only works out if I do it with Jag, and then I end up having Jag and Matt on my side because I saved both of them. And that's how it all happened, right? That's how it all worked out. If that wasn't the case, it would not have been Jag who was voted out that week. Cirie had all the control of that entire week of how that twist all played out. And if it wasn't for that, like that's kind of the weird thing, right? He didn't even walk out the door. It's not even like he had to win a battle back, right? It was all nullified. It was basically an eviction that was for show. It didn't actually matter at the end of the day. So it was kind of just like a weird situation where, like, yeah, technically people voted for him to be evicted, but like a lot of them voted for him to be evicted knowing he was coming right back in because Cirie told them. Like, it wasn't like this was like, oh, they voted to evict him and they didn't know he was coming right back. Right? It wasn't like, oh my God, Jag coming back in. We didn't know this was happening. It was like Red and like Cameron. I don't even know if Red was still in the game at that time. It was like Bowie Jane. Like, those are the people who didn't matter didn't know that this was happening. Everybody else kind of knew. Like, everybody else who was important was involved in this decision, and they all knew what the story was. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna vote for Jag. Jag's gonna come right back into the game, and everything's gonna be fine. So it wasn't even like, it wasn't real, right? Like, and I get it, right? It's on his record, so you have to evaluate that. But I think people put a little bit too much of a stake in there. That said, I think the first part of Jag's game was terrible. He was awful at Big Brother. But he eventually realized, oh wait, you can lie in Big Brother. And I do give credit for kind of learning on the job. Jag, like halfway through the season, he was wearing that chicken suit. Him and Matt have a conversation and say, wait a minute, we can lie too. So they go and they take over the game afterwards. And I give him a lot of credit for that. Chelsie, BB26 winner. Listen, Chelsie played a really good game. I think a lot of people give her a little too much credit because they like to say she had a perfect game. I disagree. She was nominated once, and to me, that is enough, right? If you are on the block, that is not a perfect game. You let up an error. You let somebody see you as either a threat or somebody who's disposable and doesn't matter and can be used as a pawn. And if you end up on the block, to me, that ruins your perfect game. The only player to have an absolute perfect game is Cody and BB27. Again, right? It's like, how much is that really a thing? Because there's a lot of pre-gaming, but hey, pre-gaming happens. It's a thing. It still stands, though, that I think the only one who's had that kind of a game is Cody. Never been on the block, won unanimously. And to me, I think here's what really is a big part of what makes a perfect game. Your Final Four situation. I believe for a perfect game, you have to win the Final Four HOH, and you have to win the Final Four, or the Final Three veto, or the Final Three HOH. Because if you don't win the Final 5, or you don't necessarily have to win the Final 4 HOH, I guess if you don't get nominated and then you win the veto. You can also win the veto in Final 4 and still, if you're not one of the original nominees. Like, that's part of it too, right? You want to pick it up, right? So, like, in the Final 4, if you don't win HOH and or if you're not put on the block and then you win the veto, that means you never hit the block. And then the Final 3, you have to be the one to win, because otherwise you're automatically put on the block. So for me, right, Chelsie having to be taken to the end, that also disqualifies her for a perfect game, because you lose control over your game at that point, right? It's in the hands of someone else. You're like, that is no longer perfect, because if to be perfect, you should be in control at all times. You should never have a chance of going home. There should never be a situation where you're actually in danger on eviction night. And if you lose any of those, that should be your disqualifier. White Ghost, exactly. Derek's another one who is really close to getting a perfect game, but having to have Cody take him, I think, disqualifies him from the perfect game as well. Right? So, like, that is another one who it's like really close. I would call it almost like a no-hitter, right? Like, it's not a perfect game, but it's like, oh, it's like a no-hitter. You walked somebody and you ended up with a base runner, right? You ended up with a base runner. They didn't end up scoring, right? Everything was fine, right? You didn't give up a run, but there was an error. Right, there was a fielding error out there. Something happened where you were in danger for just a second. Just for a hair. And that's the critical thing, because if we're going to be perfect, it's got to be perfect, right? Like, you can't say something's perfect if it was slightly imperfect. If there was a moment of danger, that would be imperfect, right? So I think that's something to kind of consider. But otherwise, right, Chelsie, really good socially, right? One of, I think, the biggest thing that Chelsie did, and it's something that I talk about all the time, right? Find the outcast and give them a home. MJ ended up being kind of alone in the game. Chelsie saw this as an opportunity to bring her in as a number for her. She said, wait a minute, if she's all alone, let me be her friend. If I'm her friend, guess who she's going to trust the most when it comes down to it, and she ends up winning one of these competitions. And how important did that actually become in the end? That was such a big move from Chelsie to secure that number for her. And it paid off just in exponential dividends, right? It was huge for her. And I do think there was like a little bit of time in the beginning of the season for Chelsie where she got a little comfortable. And this is a thing that can happen sometimes, where as soon as you start to get comfortable in that game and you start to feel like you have everything under control, that's when you end up in the most danger. And that's the week she ended up on the block. She had, the Pentagon Alliance and everything was kind of rolling. She felt really good in this game. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's up on the block, right? And that, I think, was a little bit of a slap in the face and a wake-up call to her. And I really liked that it was like, okay, I can't be comfortable anymore. I have to work. Because what she ended up doing, she almost thought she could do the whole Suri thing where it's, oh, I'll just stay in the back room and people will come to me. And then she realized, oh no, I have to get out there. I have to be working. Because as the moment I left off, I let off the brake, off the gas, and they went for me. So she immediately turned things around. And it was also another thing where it was really interesting. And here's where I do fault her a little bit. Not too much, right? Because here's the thing. You can't control your cast at the end of the day, right? You can't control it. They were bad. Listen, a lot of her cast were bad. They weren't trying to win. They were playing for second place at best. They were talking about people over profits and that, winning doesn't matter. And it's like, listen, what are we doing here? If you're not there to win, get off of my show, right? Like, I don't want you there. So I give her a little bit of a downgrade on that. Very similar if you guys have watched Big Brother Canada. Kevin Jacobs, I feel like Kevin Jacobs on 9 out of 10 seasons, he's the first boot, right? Like 9 out of 10 seasons, Kevin Jacobs is the first boot. But you can't control your cast, right? And listen, luck is a very big part of Big Brother. It's a very big part of Big Brother. And then that brings us here to Ashley. And here's the thing. Ashley, I think, it's interesting because she is not good at competitions, right? She's really not good. She only won 2 competitions. The first veto and then the final HOH. She won part 2 and part 3. So she at least comes up clutch, right? Because I think those competitions were the 2 most important competitions for her to win in the entire game. If she doesn't win that first veto, there's a good chance she's the first one going out that week. There's a likelihood. It's very possible that could have happened where she could have been that first boot. I think there's a very strong chance that there could have been votes that could have been swayed to get Ashley voted out over Zay. I think that there's a high chance of that. So she wins and she gets her safety and she doesn't have to worry about any of that. And then in the final HOH, right, she really needed to win that to not only secure that she was even going to be in the final 2, not knowing whether or not Morgan would actually take her over Vince, even though there was at least a very strong suspicion that Ashley had done enough with Morgan to get her to take Ashley over Vince to the final 2. I still think she would actually end up losing to Morgan. I'll be honest, I didn't look and see like anything that like the jury said afterwards on who they would have voted for in different scenarios and stuff like that. But I still think that was a big determining factor, right, for Ashley and Vince. If Vince would have been the one to cut Ashley, or excuse me, if Vince would have been the one to cut Morgan and win that final HOH, I think he could have very well won out over Ashley in that scenario if he owned his game. Just like with Ashley being the one to cut Morgan, that was such a big moment and a big thing for her in the game that really secured her the win because they saw Morgan as the person to win the game if she would have been there in the end. So I think that was another really big moment for her where she came in the clutch to secure her spot in the final 2. The 2 biggest wins of her season came at the 2 biggest moments for her at that time. Overall, though, not good at competitions, right? The other thing is, too, and here's the thing. I've seen a lot of what I want to call a little revisionist history, right? And it's one of those things where it's just like how people will say they throw a competition, but a lot of times it's just because they did bad at that competition. You guys pick up what I'm putting down here? Sometimes people will be like, oh yeah, I threw so many competitions. But really it was just because they were bad at the competitions. Like they don't want to admit that they weren't good. Ashley has said, and she even said it on the feeds, right? Like this isn't like a new thing. Ashley has said that she was, playing dumb and she was trying to put a little bit of a target on herself as strategy. And while yes, you can look at her game that way, how much credit do we actually give it as that actually being real, or was it more of that just happened and now she's being like, oh yeah, I meant to do that, right? And like, it's just a thing where you can never really know the answer to that if we're being honest, right? The only person who really would know the answer to that would be Ashley herself. But I do think the one big critique I have on that whole idea is I think there were times she went too far with it. I think there were times she set herself up to be a bigger target than she even realized, right? A big example of that is Zach. How much did she trust that Zach loved her? She thought she had Zach wrapped around her finger. I mean, Zach wanted her out. Zach was going to put her on the block, and she didn't believe it. She said, no, Don't you remember? Rachel had to get Jimmy to apologize to her for saying it. Jimmy told her to her face, and she was so offended that Rachel had to get Jimmy to say, hey, can you go tell her that you made that up? Can you go tell her that that wasn't true? Please, can you go tell her that wasn't true? And Jimmy's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I made it up. I don't know why I said it. I don't know why I said it. So like, listen. There are times where it was like, hey, look, how much of that was actually strategy, and how much of that was just like, hey, you weren't that great at Big, right? Like, you were mid. I don't want to be too mean. Because here's the thing. I think there are some good qualities, right? There were good times and times where she actually had a really good read on situations. And like I said, I think one of her best plays was in the end game. I think there's a high chance that if Morgan would have won that final HOH, that she would have taken Ashley, because Ashley manipulated the whole situation with Vince and Morgan. And I think she did a really good job with that. Like that 100% was like, oh yeah, you did that thing, Ashley. Like I really think that Morgan was going to take Ashley, because she had this weird feeling that Vince would beat her. And it's crazy. It's a crazy thought. But I think there were a lot of times where Ashley, again, had some good reads, but a lot of times she had some really bad ones too. So there's good and bad for Ashley, right? Like it's not a perfect high score in really any situation. But I also don't necessarily say like bad winner. One of the big things that I really thought was really fun about BB27, all three of them had a chance to win going into finale. I felt really good that there was a way all three of them had a path to victory. And I thought that was really interesting with that final three. All three of them I thought was deserving in their own rights, right? If Vince would have ended up as a winner, if Morgan would have ended up as a winner, I think both of them would have been, decent winners. Like I would have been happy with any three pulling out the victory in the end. And it's been a long time since we could say that, right? Like let's think of the past 5 final threes here, right? Last season with Chelsie, MJ, I would have been happy with either one of them. I think MJ had a very bad social game. But in the end, if she would have pulled off the victory with all the comp wins she had, cool, right? Like I would have been down with it. Cam though, Cam was bad. Listen, Cam was bad. we'll just leave it at that. Jag, Matt, I think both of them would have been great winners. Absolutely. Bowie Jane though, right? Bowie Jane. Nah, listen, if Bowie Jane would have won, that would have been bad. Real bad. BB24 actually. You know what? BB24. I think there is a case to be made for Turner. Like a better case than any of the others. I think it would be like the second best option, right? I think like clearly BB27 is the best three, right? Like the best 3 players were in BB27 final 3 compared to the BB24 final 3. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like there's a case for all 3 in BB24 with Taylor, Monty, and Turner. I think you could make cases. And then with 23 with Xavier, he was the only one. Like, listen, Big D, listen, I kind of like Big D, especially postseason. Like, I think Big D has a lot of really good thoughts on the shows. I know he really wants to get on another show. I'd love to see Big D get another chance. Big D's also a Philly guy, you know. Silly brother love. We gotta stick together, you know. Yeah, we gotta have each other's back. But I don't think he should have won that season, right? Like, there's not a chance he should have won over Xavier, and it wouldn't have been great. We just got to be honest with ourselves. Azza also, like, not great, right? Like, if Kylan would have got in, maybe, right? Kylan would have been somebody I would have been like, oh, okay, I can see it. But it was very clear, far and away, Xavier. So I think BB27, very hands down, had the best final 3 of the new era. Hands down. Why was Big D so bad? He slept most of the time. Him and Azza really just kind of, they were chilling. They were letting everybody else do everything, right? They were just kind of doing their own thing. They didn't win really any competitions. I think Azza might have had an HOH here or there somewhere. They didn't win competitions. They really just had the Cookout Alliance kind of protecting them the whole time. And again, like, Big D, like, I think is someone I kind of really like, especially like postseason, like things that, you know, he said, and I really like the guy. But man, during this season, I don't think he should have been a winner, right? Like, I think that's the big difference. Or I really agree in the final 3. Definitely BB27 and BB3 had the best final 3s. Gabriel, that's not a bad take. Not a bad take at all. They were at summer camp. Not a chance, Big D or Azza. MJ bad. Cam underrated. Really? Big D was so awful socially to the point where I genuinely think he doesn't make it past the mid game without the cookout. He lucked out hard. And there were times too where, like, the cookout should have exploded. There's times it definitely should have exploded. But Tiffany really did great jobs of keeping it together. I remember there was like a really like kind of awkward convo in the storage room with Big D and Tiffany, just kind of like, there was beef happening. I forget what he was even about. Like, Big D said something that Tiffany didn't like or whatever. I don't even know. But like, she had to, like, you know, kind of set him straight. Like, listen, stop messing around, Big D. You're gonna get us in trouble. That kind of stuff. So, it was just overall, yeah. I think hands down, BB27 had the best final 3 that we've had in a while. Definitely of the new era. Here's the thing, though. I think we should kind of use a little bit of a scoring system here. A little bit of an aid to try and help us out here. And I did these, and here's the thing. I think the numbers are a little bit fluid. I might even change my mind as we're talking about this here, all right? So let's give, you know, out of 10, I've got 5 different categories. You've got the social game. You've got strategy, competitions, how good their jury management was, and then also, like, kind of what they're like. I struggled on, like, the best way to put this other than, like, impact, right? Like, how they're going to be remembered, right? Like, will people go like, oh yeah, you know what, like, this was a really good win, and I think that's going to kind of factor into it just a little bit. So let's start off with Xavier. And I actually kind of feel really good about these numbers. I feel like these are pretty good numbers for him. Social game, I think he's at a 9. Like, I don't think he's a perfect 10. I don't think he's a perfect 10. But Xavier, he was just likable. And there's this thing that some players have, right, where it's just this X factor where you can't even really describe it. You don't know why. You just want to trust them. You just kind of want to trust them. You just want to be their partner in this game. You want to work with them. And I think Xavier has that. He's a very clear example of just somebody who has that X factor in the game. Kind of interesting that it would be for Xavier, the good old X factor. But I think he does have that, and I think his social game is very, very good. Strategy. I think he also has a decent mind for the game as well. I don't think he's the best strategist of his season. That was clearly Tiffany. Here's the problem. Tiffany threw her game. And I think overall, though, Xavier did have a really good idea on what he needed to do and how he needed to get to the end and who he needed there at the end. It's not an accident that Big D and Azza were in the final three. We were just talking about how bad, the final three was for that. There's a reason. It's because Xavier wanted it that way, right? He wanted the two people to be in the final three with him, people that he could beat and people that if he was sitting next to, he would beat. Like that was all of his goal, right? So I think strategy-wise, I don't think he gets like top scores, but I'm thinking like an 8. Competitions. Here's the thing. I think he was really good at competitions. And listen, he's not like an all-time great. Not an all-time great. But I think more often than not, he's going to have a good shot at winning the competitions that he's in. So that's another one where I'm going to give him another 8. Another 8 for competitions. Jury management, I mean, he kind of nailed it, right? Like, I don't know if I can give him a perfect 10 necessarily, right? Like, I don't know if I can give him that. But maybe like a 9. Maybe like a 9 on the jury management, right? Mainly for like, one, it was unanimous, right? Like nobody else was getting votes. Part of that goes back to the strategic part of putting people in the position to win, to be there, with him and make sure that he wins unanimously, right? He was going to make sure that was the end goal. But there was some stuff with the Kylan, right? Where it was like, hey, he's like walking on out. That's more, I guess, on Kylan than anything else in that situation, right? Of Kylan just being bitter. But in the end, I think he gets a decent score on that. And I think that kind of relates also back the social game a little bit, just right, where you're able to not only set yourself up to have the jury votes, right? Because here's the thing that people kind of miss out on the jury management, right? Jury management isn't just, hey, how much do you get the people who are leaving to like you? It's getting the right people in the jury that you want, because then you end up beating them in a situation, right? Like, I consider part of jury management your end game, right? The idea that you had Azza and Big D next to you, that's part of your jury management, because you know that you're going to beat them in the end. Like, that's all kind of wraps on into each other. So I give him a 9 on that. And then as far as like legacy and impact, again, maybe not a perfect 10 on that either, but I think it's high up there, right? Like, I think people are always going to look back and go, yeah, you know what? Xavier, pretty good at Big Brother, right? Like, it was a decent win. So again, I'm going to put him at like another 9. What's that even total? I should have added these up beforehand. I should have. A little bit of an oversight. What do we got here? 8, 9, 9, 43. We've got a 43 out of 50 for Xavier, which I think is a decent score. I think that's a decent score, right? Where will that end up being the top one? I'll be honest, I don't even know. I'll be honest. I wish I would have added them up beforehand. That would have actually been the smart thing to do. But I didn't do that. Next up after Xavier, let's go over Taylor and kind of the scores I have for her. And listen, Xavier had a lot of high scores there, guys. He had a lot of high scores. And we're going out of a 10 here. I think for Taylor, the best I can do is a 5. The best I can do for her social game is a 5. Here's why. The first half of the season, we can't just give no blame at all to her. At the end of the day, right? Did they ask her to put the dress on? Yeah. You know what she could have done? No, I don't want to. You know what else she could have done? Not said, that's my finale dress, right? Like, you don't have to say that. You could just say, oh yeah, that's a dress I brought. It's kind of cool, ain't it? It's all shiny. It's real shiny. I'll wear that at some point, right? But to say, that's my finale dress, implies that you're going to be there on finale. That's not good social game. That's not very smart. That sets you up to be a target in the first place. Now, is it fair how hard they went on her? Probably not, right? Did she also not do a good job of making sure the other people felt comfortable with her as she started hanging out with the boys and they were like, well, she's not a girl's girl? That's on her, right? That said, she did end up kind of recovering and did make some friends, right? She had people like Joseph that she became really close with, and even Michael and Turner and Monty, and she ended up getting these people on her side. So I got to give her a little bit of credit there, which is why she gets brought back up to a 5, and she's not like a 1 or a negative. Because she made a little bit of a recovery. But I cannot justify giving her a high score in the social game. Strategy. Once again, I don't think I can do it, guys. Do you remember her HOH? Do you remember that HOH she had where her and Kyle were going over on why Alyssa should go on the block or shouldn't go on the block? It was handled so poorly and how it should have been done. I just cannot give her a high score on that. At best, I got to give her a 5. At best, I got to give her a 5 on the strategy as well. I do not think she did well there. Competitions. I think there is a little bit of something for Taylor here. On her season, she wasn't great, but we also did see on reindeer games, she was kind of good there too. That's also where it's like, listen, reindeer games, like, it doesn't count necessarily for like Big Brother stats, I think. But I think it also does show a little bit of her strategy as well. It's why I don't tank her strategy and give her like 1s. I think at the very least she can get like an average of a 5, right? Like, she's an average strategist, just by like some of the stuff I've seen like on reindeer games where it's like, all right, I'll give her a little bit of credit. So for competitions, while I don't think she's on Xavier's level, I think maybe just like a little bit lower. I think there's, you know, a little bit more competitions that Xavier would have a better shot at winning over Taylor, for example. But I think Taylor, like, going into competitions, I think more often than not, I think she has a shot to be somebody who could win, right? Whether it's a physical one or even some kind of a mental one, right? She's got a brain in her head, right? She's a decently smart. So I think she'd have a lot of good job at things like even like puzzles and stuff like that, right? Not the best in the world at them, but like, you know, I think she would have a shot over anybody else she was in the house with, right? So let's say a 7 on competitions. Here's one. This one might be controversial. This might be a little controversial. Jury management. I have it as a 1. I have it as a 1, and here's why. I don't think she managed the jury. I think the jury was managed for her. I believe that at the end of the day, those jury members did not want to vote for Taylor until they found out about how people thought about how she was treated. And it was only after that, that they thought, yeah, we kind of have to vote for Taylor. And I just cannot, in good conscience, give anything higher than a 1. That is where I have to rank it. I just have to do it. I have to. Now, here's where I'm going to make up for it a little bit. Like I said, impact, kind of like your legacy, how people are going to remember your win. I'm giving her a 10. I think the story of how she was so much at the bottom at the start of the season to winning it in the end, being America's favorite player. I think that entire story arc is one of the best ones we've had in Big Brother. So I give her a 10 on the impact, the legacy, how she'll be remembered. When like people go back and they watch seasons, I think like Taylor will always be one that like, oh man, that was a fun one, right? Like I think that was a fun journey, and just everything that happened. You cannot tell me that the night the leftovers formed was not one of the most fun moments, and also a very big moment in the history of this channel specifically. I was doing, I think it was a 12-hour stream. I don't think it was a 24. I think it was just a 12-hour stream. And the 11th hour of that stream was when Joseph was like, we're waiting for everybody to get up to the HOH room. Like Joseph was supposed to be like getting people to send them up onto the HOH room because they were going to form the alliance. And it was like, oh, is it going to happen? And we were actually on stream, like kind of watching as it was going down. And it was so exciting watching this happen. We're like, come on, get to the HOH room. Like, please get on upstairs. Get your butt upstairs. Let's go. And it was so much fun, like cheering that on and watching that take place. And it was such a moment. I ended up recording the update for the next morning, and it felt like, because again, like I was up for so long, 12 hours streaming. The update I did, I was like, I recorded that thing, and afterwards I was like, that was probably the worst update I've ever done. I was like, it was manic. I was all over the place. I just recorded, hit upload, I passed out and went to sleep. I woke up and that was like one of my first updates that just went like really big numbers, and was a really big moment for this channel, and kind of took off. So yeah, I just think Taylor's legacy rating has to be a 10. Overall though, that doesn't seem like it's a great number for her, because we're looking at, out of 50, we're only looking at a 28 for Taylor. We're only looking at a 28 overall for Taylor, and that's not a good. It's not gonna beat Xavier. That's for sure. Next up, we have from Big Brother 25, Jag. Social game. This is another one where I don't think in good conscience I can give him a super high score here. I think at best I gotta give him a 5, and it's because in the beginning of the game, he was really just kind of, I don't want to say delusional, like that's not the right word. Gullible. He believed almost anything you would tell him, right? He thought everybody was his friend. He thought everybody had his back. But really, like, not a lot of people really were working with him, right? It wasn't until the actual, like, weird eviction thing, right? We were over that in the beginning of it, where that all kind of played out, that things kind of turned for him. He started to become better friends with Corey in America, and that started to kind of work out pretty good. He had Blue and Matt. They ended up getting in good with Suri, and that really is how he kind of changed his game around. So I think at best, I got to give him a 5 on the social. Strategy as well, and I think I can't give him high marks. I can't, but I do want to give him a little bit of respect, and he learned. And I think his endgame strategy was near perfect. So I can't give him super high marks, but I think what could be fair for him is a 7 on strategy. Because again, I think that beginning part was just so brutally bad, but his endgame strategy was fantastic. Come on, guys. You realize that these competitions are all very physical. what are you going to do? Are you going to keep Corey and America around who potentially could beat you? Or are you going to keep Mama F and Mama C, right? Are you going to keep the grandmas? Or are you going to keep Corey and America, right? Like, that was a very obvious strategy, but it is strategy. And I think that was all stuff that he used to get himself to the end, as well as working with Bowie Jane to then get out Cameron, because they kind of needed her to be able to do that, and kind of that whole thing was fantastic. We have to really give him a lot of credit for that too. So I think 7. I think 7 is something that's a fair one. Competitions, listen, guys, we gotta be honest. Jag is one of the best competitors we've ever seen in Big Brother. I haven't been keeping up with the Amazing Race, but as far as I know, he's really good on that too, right? I think for competitions, you got to give Jag a 10. I think it's got to be a 10 out of 10 for Jag. He's just so good at them. He's so good. He's fantastic. Like, you just got to be honest and like, it's pretty plain. I think that that's one that I don't think anybody should have a problem with. Jury management. This is another interesting one, because I actually remember going into the finale feeling like Jag didn't have a chance. I felt like Matt was so loved, right? Like, if Matt's in the final 2, how could Jag beat him? But Jag actually did. And I guess there was just a lot we didn't really see with Matt. And you know what was another thing? And looking back on it, I'm like, man, I should have keyed in on this. And I get why he was doing it, because he was having trouble sleeping. But Matt would separate himself. And I talk about this, right? I mentioned it with Mickey at one point during this season, where it was like, she was kind of on the outs a little bit, but didn't realize she was on the outs, and then ended up like eating away from the group, where it's like, you shouldn't do that stuff. Like, you should always try and be with the people and not separate yourself as much as possible. And Matt would end up going and sleep in like his own separate room a lot of times. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff with Matt's social game we really didn't see. And I think maybe even gave him a little bit too much credit with just his situation and how people kind of looked out for him a little bit on that end. I think we felt like they liked him more than they actually did. And I think Jag deserves a little bit of credit. I can't give him like too much, because there, wasn't like it was unanimous. People weren't, perfectly for him. But I want to say maybe like a 6. I think a 6 on jury, like better than average. Because again, I think it was more surprising that he ended up actually winning that. Do I do 7? Do I bump it to, I'm going to bump it to a 7. I think I'm going to bump it to a 7, guys. I feel like he deserves that. Because it was almost so surprising that he beat Matt. Like, I really didn't see it coming. And I think that is a kind of a testament to like the stuff he was doing more in the background as well. That maybe we didn't see as much. Legacy and impact, and this is where it's kind of rough because I think he takes a hit here. I think the best I can do for him is a 5. I think the best I can do for a 5. I think it's going to be one that people remember, but in a bad way, right? Like, it's going to be one of those ones that everyone's going to remember as, oh, he was evicted and won. But like I said, I think my big thing about Jag is, yeah, he was evicted and won. But the real situation on that, the real story behind that is it was all because of the twist. And if that twist wasn't there, he wouldn't have been the one that was evicted that week. And just the way everything played out, it was just really weird. And he never actually walked out of the house. There's a lot to it. And I think a lot of people put a lot of weight on that they shouldn't. And at the end of the day, though, it will impact how people view his game. So I got to knock him for that. That brings him to a total of 34. 34. So we're starting to have a little bit of clarity here on some stuff. Just to give you guys a recap, we have Xavier with 43. We have Jag with 34. And we have Taylor with 28. So currently our rankings, Xavier, Jag, Taylor. That is how we're looking at things right now. But we move on to Chelsie. Here's the thing, Chelsie, social game. Listen, she had a fantastic game. A fantastic social game. It was wonderful. Again, I think some of that is dependent on the cast you get, but listen, luck in Big Brother, you can't control it, and sometimes you just get lucky and you get those good casts that don't want to see themselves win and they want to see you win. I think I gotta give her a 10. I gotta give her a 10. It was just so... You know what? I'm not gonna give her a 10, and here's why. I'm gonna give her a 9. There was that 1 week. There was that 1 week, right, where she let up on it. And she let up on the gas, and she got caught up a little bit in just everything that was going on. And there was a chance that she could have even been evicted that week. So I'll give her a 9. I'll give her a 9 on that. Strategy-wise, though, this is another one where I think Chelsea's really good here, and I think she gets a 10. I think she gets a 10 on strategy. She was always really good at being like, these are the people who I need to work with. These are the people I can beat. These are the people that, you know, I need on my side. I can get this person to kind of work with me this way. I think she gets a 10 for strategy. I think Chelsie was really good at knowing what she needed to do and when. Again, maybe I could give her a knock, right, for that 1 week. Maybe I knock her down to, you know what? I'll do the same thing. I'll knock her down 1 just because of that 1 week. We won't give her full 10s. We'll give her 2 9s for both of those. 2 9s for both of those. For social game and strategic, she gets a 9. Competitions. She's actually sneakily good at competitions, right? Like, she had at the time, I think someone beat it now, maybe even this season, right? For the HOHs, did Vince beat her for HOHs this season? For most HOHs, or was it like tied? She had a little run there. Like, yeah, low key. She's low key kind of good at comps. And right, not only just like kind of like somewhat physical comps, right? Like there were competitions where it's like you had to be a little physical for it. But she's also good at like things, you know, like puzzles and stuff like that. I think she would do better in more comps than she wouldn't. And I don't think we can give her a 10. What did we give Xavier? Was it an 8? I think, here's the thing. I think she's maybe better than Xavier at some competitions. I think there's some competitions that Ashley would actually be better than Xavier at. I'm going to give her a 9. I'm going to give her a 9 on competitions. I think that's pretty fair. Jury management.